Hi there, I'm Chef Eric Crowley, owner of the Culinary Classroom in West Los Angeles, and today I'm going to show you how to sharpen a knife utilizing a combination stone. Back when I was in culinary school, and a lot of professionals will attest that the first time that they wound up learning how to sharpen a knife was with one of these. This is called a combination stone. Sometimes in professional kitchens it's actually set inside a plastic frame that can get covered and can get transported. But for the most part, something like this that you can get at a sporting goods store, or you can get at, usually find it at a nice Asian supermarket like the 99 Ranch. It's a really great way to get really in touch with your knife. This is going to be a style of sharpening that's going to require a good deal of practice. This is very much a practical art because knife angle is going to be really important with regards to utilizing this. Combination stone typically has two colors. It's got a darker gray right here, which is kind of like a coarse grit sandpaper, and then a lighter gray here, which is like a fine grit sandpaper. If your knife is really super dull, you're going to run it on this side first, and then this side. If your knife is just somewhat dull, then you're just going to run it on this side. To help stabilize the combination stone, I like to take a nice layer of paper toweling and dampen it with some water. As the water gets absorbed by the towel and we set the combination stone on it, it's going to help to really keep it planted and keep it from moving around on my counter and on my board. A lot of chefs will also take a little bit of extra water and go onto the stone. That's going to help lubricate it and help keep the knife blade from getting too hot. We are going to be creating some friction here. Some chefs will utilize oil. You could use either one. Make sure that the oil that you use is a food grade mineral oil. You don't want to use like a canola or an olive oil. It's going to wind up getting really sticky and it's going to turn rancid as well. Also, it's important that if you use water, always use water with the stone. If you use oil, always use oil with the stone. Don't switch around between the mediums. As far as sharpening the knife, as I mentioned before, angle is going to be very, very important. Most knife manufacturers, in fact almost all of them, have their knife sharpened at about a 20-degree angle. Some of your higher end knives like a Global or a Shun, they may actually be sharpened at a more severe angle like a 15-degree angle. 20 degrees is really ideal for almost all knives because it gives you a nice edge that tends not to dull very rapidly. Whereas if you wind up going broader than that, 20 or 25 or even 30 degrees, you're not going to be able to cut anything. The other end of the spectrum, if you get into 15 degrees or even 10, you're going to get a really super fine edge, but it's going to dull very, very fast. So when I was back in culinary school, what I wound up doing in order to determine whether I was at 20 degrees with regards to my combination stone, first thing I did is I got it right onto the edge of my counter. The knife grip is going to be a middle ring and pinky finger around the handle, thumb and forefinger around the blade like this, and then your opposing hand is going to lightly rest on top of the blade. So as you start to draw it along the stone, you're going to kind of stabilize the blade with your opposite hand. I took the knife and laid it right on the stone, and then stand the knife straight up. This distance between here and here is 90 degrees, okay? Half that distance is 45, half again, 22 and a half. And I just lowered my hand a little bit and made it 20. You could even buy, there are some contraptions that clip on the back of your knife that you can get at a place like Sur La Table to help really ensure that you got a really good angle on the knife. Opposite hand, fingertips are going to be separated a little bit and lightly pressing down on the blade. I'm going to take the knife and run it from the tip to the heel along the stone. A little bit of downward pressure with my right hand here against the stone, not too much. And then we flip the knife over and do the same thing on the other side. Some chefs will even take the knife and run it in a circular motion along the entire length of the blade. That works fine as well, but you want to keep in mind if you're going to utilize that motion, you always want to use that same motion whenever you're sharpening the knife. The knife, steel itself, is very much like a piece of wood. It's got lots of grain inside the metal itself. So if you change direction, if I all of a sudden decided I wanted to take my knife and start to sharpen it by going in tight little circles, I'm actually going to dull the knife initially, and then as I continue to sharpen with that motion, it's going to start to get an edge on it. It will take a little bit of time for the knife to basically start to get used to that motion. So after you have run your knife on your combination stone, a really great way to determine if you have a nice edge is to actually take your thumb and very lightly draw it along the edge of the blade. You should actually feel the thumbprint kind of catch on the edge a little bit, and that's a really good sign that you've got a nice edge going. Really important that you actually clean the blade too. Get some nice soapy water and just go ahead and give it a little wipe. And then go ahead and give it a rinse. And then wipe it dry. When you're sharpening, you're actually taking little bits of metal off of the blade, so it's really important that you give it a wash so you don't have those little metal filings get into your food that you're going to cut. And that is how to sharpen a knife with a combination stone. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you can get some additional information. If there's a recipe that you would like to see me make, feel free to send an email to requests@Mahalodotcom. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.